In the past 2 years, we saw Steph Curry break the all-time three-point record and LeBron James break the all-time point record. Now, many people expected Steph Curry to break the three-point record, but the all-time point record was something that many thought that LeBron would never be able to beat. Kareem had an untouchable record, which is making us rethink all the records that are deemed untouchable, especially Wilt Chamberlain's world-famous 100-point game. Now, there are some people out there that do not believe that he actually scored 100 points. Like, I have a friend who religiously will argue that that shit did not happen, as there's not a lot of footage of Wilt, and honestly, we don't know. They could have stat padded him at the end of the day. But we do know that there are a lot of players that are very close to getting that iconic 100-point game. Just this year alone, we have two players that have scored 71 points, Donovan Mitchell and Damian Lillard, who just did it a couple nights ago. And with the way scoring is going nowadays, I wholeheartedly believe that we will see a player break the 100-point record. And honestly, I think we could see it very, very soon, in the next 3 to 5 years. Just look at this season alone. We have multiple players who are averaging 30 points a game. At a time, it was hard to average 30 points a game. If a player averaged 30 points a game, they were undisputed scoring leader of the NBA. They were undisputed the best scorer in the league that year. And honestly, it was a big deal. And they usually won MVP. We saw guys like Kevin Durant score 30 points a game, Michael Jordan scored 30 points a game, and Kobe Bryant. It used to be really difficult to do. Now we have guys like Luka who are doing it, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid. Just this year alone, we have 6 players who are averaging over 30 points a game. Luka Doncic is averaging 33.4, Joel Embiid is averaging 33, Damian Lillard is averaging 32.3, Giannis Antetokounmpo is averaging 31.1, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging 31, and Jason Tatum is averaging 30.3. And you also have guys that are borderline. I mean, LeBron James is averaging 29.5, and he's right outside of averaging 30 points a game. I mean, if you just look at last year, we only had one guy who averaged 30 points a game, which was Joel Embiid. And the year before, we only had 2 guys who averaged 30 points a game, which was Steph Curry and Bradley Beal. And this year, we have 6, almost 7 guys averaging 30 points a game. The scoring has just went to an all-time high, which makes me believe that there will definitely be somebody very soon that will break Wilt Chamberlain's record. Now, but it's not just Wilt's record. Like I mentioned earlier, LeBron James and Steph Curry both broke records in the past 2 years, and I believe both those records will be broken. Steph Curry will probably be the most likely one. I mean, if you look at Steph Curry's career, early in his career, he had to deal with a lot of ankle injuries, and there was times where he wasn't really making that many threes a year. I mean, he was making less than 2 to 3 threes a game at some points, and he was out most of the season. Curry really didn't catch fire until around 2015, where he really started upping his three-point shooting and started skyrocketing and making around 6 to 7 threes a game. Now he's got to the player he is today, where Curry is undoubtedly the greatest shooter we've ever seen. And I understand Curry is still playing, but let's just look at guys that are in the league right now that are already shooting a more high-volume three-point shooting. I mean, you look at Anthony Edwards. If you compare Anthony Edwards' first 3 years to Curry's first 3 years, he's on pace to destroy Curry's record. Not saying that Anthony Edwards is a better shooter than Steph Curry. It just shows you how much more players take and make threes now in the NBA. Back when Curry was in, it still wasn't accepted to shoot 10 or 11 threes a game as a point guard. Now, he can go shoot 20 if he really wants to, because he has that type of green light. Back then, it wasn't accepted. And to deal with his ankle injuries, Curry had a very slow start to his three-point journey. And then you have LeBron James. Now, this one is going to be extremely hard to beat, because I don't even know when LeBron James is going to stop playing, and I'm a LeBron James fan myself, as you can tell. And fuck, I don't know when he's going to call quits. And I hopefully never. But in the pace that he's playing right now, he's averaging 30 points, he's 38 years old, and yes, he is injured right now, but if he keeps up this pace, well, he is going to absolutely shatter that record by thousands of points. But I still do believe that players in the modern NBA could possibly beat that record if they play as long. This is more of a longevity thing than anything else. I don't believe that you need to be an all-time great scorer to go beat someone like LeBron's record, just because of how much scoring is happening now in the NBA. Let's take Jason Tatum. Say Tatum decided to play 25 plus years, he would easily beat LeBron's record. Now, more likely he will not play 20 plus years, and that is the advantage that LeBron James has. But I still do believe that there will be a player that comes time that will be competing for LeBron James' record and possibly beat it when time comes. Now, all the other records are kind of close, but the only one that is still really helped by a guy that has a pretty significant lead would be the assist record by John Stockton, who also owns the steal record, which he has a pretty significant lead in too. Chris Paul is 4,000 assists away, but I don't think Chris Paul is going to get it, and LeBron James is currently 5,000 assists away, which I also don't think LeBron James will go get it. And for the steal record wise, well, Chris Paul is still 7,000 steals away from being John Stockton. So it might be a little bit of time until we find a point guard that can pass and steal the way John Stockton is and defeat that record. But rest assured, all the rest of these records will be shattered. Now back to the whole premise of this video. 100 points in the NBA game seems something that was unfathomable and really almost unrealistic. Like, I remember playing NBA 2K and getting 100 points in a 2K game was hard. Like, that was a hard thing to do, to get 100 points, and that was always something that I would post and show to all my Facebook friends, right? But now I could realistically see a guy like Damian Lillard catch fire, especially if, you know, they've had rumors, they've talked about maybe in the future we might have a 4-point line. And we already see guys shooting from that type of range. Imagine if Damian Lillard or Steph Curry could get 4 points for these half-court shots that they shoot. Scoring is only going to increase as the NBA goes on, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. At the end of the day, the NBA wants to sell more tickets, and people want to see scoring. And if you're not scoring the basketball, it's not as entertaining. So the NBA is going to continue to favor the offensive side and give them more opportunities to score the basketball, which means that players will have more monster games. I mean, we had 2 70-point games this year alongside 60-point nights and 50-point nights. It's absolutely ridiculous. And honestly, there might be a player that scores more than 71 this season alone. But let me know in the comments which record you think will be broken, and if you think someone will actually score 100 points in the NBA, and give me a current day player. My vote would probably be Damian Lillard, because he's on a team where he can shoot whatever the fuck he wants, and he can shoot from wherever the fuck he wants. So at this point, he's low-key unguardable. But there are some other players that could considerably break the record. So let me know in the comments what you guys think, and make sure you guys go check out my trailer I did for my Luka Doncic documentary dropping later this month.